What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. Alright soldiers, in today's video we're going to be doing the Dragoncraft reveals for set 7. I know they're going to be focusing on more Natura stuff instead of Machina. I didn't really hear anything about Machina for Dragoncraft, but let's go ahead and get into it and see what kind of cards we have in set 7 for Dragoncraft. And starting off with our first card, we have Valdian, Cursed Shadow. He's a 4-cost 4/4. You can evolve him for 2, but you can also evolve him for 0, and this effect can only be used if you have 10 or more Natura cards in your graveyard. And then when he comes into play Fanfare, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. From among them, you may put a Natura card into your hand and then put the rest into your graveyard. So it seems like the Dragoncraft is going to take an interesting turn in set 7 with this new Natura deck, because you can evolve this follower for free by having at least 10 cards in the graveyard, so there's got to be some way to get those 10 cards very quickly. Alright, and then we have Valdain Evolve, so he turns into a 5/5, but on Evolve you choose one of the following. You can either 1, choose a follower in the field and deal 4 damage to it, and then search for a Shadow's Corrosion in your deck and put it to your EX area, or 2, you can choose a Shadow's Corrosion in your graveyard and change its cost to 0 and play it. You have to love that multiple choice. So having that multiple choice, you can either 1, just deal 4 damage to a follower and put this Shadow's Corrosion that we don't know what does into the EX area, or we can play the Shadow Corrosions for free from our graveyard. Alright, and next up we have Neptune Tide Mistress, so it's a 7-cost 6/6, it has Ward. When it comes into play Fanfare, look at the top 5 cards from your deck. From among them you may put up to 2 Marine followers with different names other than this card into your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order, and then you may put a Marine follower with an original cost of 5 release from your hand on the field and give it +2/+2. Alright, so I know I'm not a big Dragoncraft follower or anything like that, but I do enjoy watching these cards like Neptune bring these other decks that are Marines and stuff like up to life, because whenever I think of Neptune, all I can think of is Orcas and stuff like that, so I wonder if Marine's going to be put on the radar. And next up we have Wildfire Tyrannosaur, so it's an 8-cost 6/6. When this card is discarded from your hand, you can use 1 play point to choose a follower in the enemy field and deal 3 damage to it. You can also activate by banishing an Ethereal Great Tree in your field and deal 3 damage to all followers on the field. Alright, so this is a pretty decent card for Discard Dragon, so if you're going to be using this to deal 3 damage to a follower in the field by getting rid of a card out of your hand, that's pretty nice too. But in the late game, if you have enough play points, which you should, if you're going to be ramping like you do in Dragoncraft, you can play this 8-cost boss monster that, with a Ethereal Great Tree, which you should be applying into your deck if you want to use this card, you'll be dealing 3 damage to the board. And next up we have Marion Elegant Dragonute, so he's a 1-cost 2/2. You can evolve him for 1, but Fanfare Overflow is active for you. You look at the top 3 cards of your deck. From among them, you may put a Dragoncraft follower into the EX area and put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So correct me if I'm wrong, the one thing that Dragoncraft will be doing is just ramping as fast as they can, as much as possible, if they're able to, depending on the matchup. So getting into that Overflow is pretty nice because you can play a 1-cost card that'll let you look at the top 3, have a card in your EX area, and have like a second hand to play with. Alright, and looking at Dragonute Evolve, so he stays as a 2/2, but on Evolve you choose another Dragon follower on your field or a Dragon follower in your EX area and you give it +1/+1. This honestly scares me because if you look at top 3 and you're going against a super control deck and your opponent manages to not really play anything and you can go for a Forte off of the top 3 when you're in Overflow, that's pretty scary that a card's going to be swinging for 8 damage. Alright, and then we have Shadow's Corrosion, so it's a 3-cost spell. At the start of your end phase, if this card is in EX area, deal 1 damage to all enemy leaders for every 5 Natura cards in your graveyard. This card is then able to be played from the EX area, and then you choose a follower on the enemy field, deal 4 damage to it, and if there's a Valdain Cursed Shadow in your field, put this card into the EX area. Alright, so I think this combo is pretty fair, so you can play this card to deal 4 damage to a follower, and as long as you have the legendary, you can put this card into the EX area, and as long as this card is in your EX area, it can't be played, just gonna sit there and collect value. By as many Natura cards are in your graveyard, you're gonna be dealing 1 damage for every 5. And then next up we have Bubbleborn Mermaid, so she's a 2-cost 2/3, so Fanfare when she comes into play, add X to your leader's health, X equals to the number of Marine followers on your field. So it looks like this is going to be one of the followers that you're going to be playing off of Neptune. Alright, and moving on, we have Hoarfrost Triceratops, so it's a 4-cost 3/3. You can evolve it for 1, but Fanfare when it comes into play, you banish an Ethereal Great Tree on the field, and this card gets +2/+2. In the last words, you put an Ethereal Great Tree onto the field. I mean, is it just me, or am I noticing that this card is kinda giving Earthright right now? Because as soon as you play it, you have to banish a card to get some extra effects, just for the Fanfare, and to make it a 5/5 is not that bad, and also, last word, so when it does die, you get to put an Ethereal Great Tree back, just in case you want to play another one, but let's go ahead and see what this Evolve does. Alrighty, and then we have Hoarfrost Evolve, so he turns to a 4/4, but on Evolve you choose a follower in the enemy field and deal 3 damage to it, and the last words you put in a Tyrian Great Tree onto the field. Alright, so this card is pretty interesting because you're going to be playing the unevolved side and it's going to get that buff, and then when it's evolved it's going to carry over that buff, so it's going to be a 6/6 that you run into something, and then that on evolve effect, if you need to deal that extra 3 damage to maybe get through to one follower or to get rid of another follower, that's something you can do too. Alrighty, and next we have Whirlwind Pterodon, so it's a 3-cost 3/2, so when it comes to play Fanfare, you banish an Tyrian Great Tree on the field, you increase your maximum play points by 1, and then last words you put an Tyrian Great Tree onto the field. Alright, so this card is going to be pretty good in the deck because we already have the Dragon's Oracle to ramp us as a spell card, but having a follower that we can use in banishing a Tyrian Great Tree because we don't want to have a whole bunch of them onto our field, by increasing our play points by 1 is very good for the deck. And then the amazing thing that I'm really liking about these cards is when they die, you get to put another card onto the field. Alright, next up we have Dragonute Needler, so she's a 3-cost 2/4, and when a Dragonute follower on your field attacked, deal 2 damage to all enemy leaders. Alright, so that's interesting. If you're going to be rocking Dragonute, this is a pretty good card to have a board full and then just play her, and then those Dragonutes are going to be pinging for an extra 2 damage. As long as this card is on the field, I think it's a pretty static ability, because every time you swing with the Dragonute, you're just going to trigger her, and then you deal 2 damage on top of whatever your Dragonute's going to be swinging for. Alright, and then we have Lightning Velociraptor, so it's a 2-cost 3/2. When it comes into play, you put a Tyrian Great Tree onto the field, and if Overflow is active for you, you put 2 instead, and this follower gets Rush. Alright, so this is going to be the chain that starts it all, so this is going to be the card that plays out the Tyrian Great Tree, and then your other dinosaurs are going to have those other effects. They're going to be like, hey, banish a Great Tree, and then get this, and then all those dinosaurs have last words, you make another one. Alright, next we have Doting Dragoneer, so she's a 2-cost 2/2. You can evolve her for 2, but Fanfare Overflow is active for you. You choose a follower in the enemy field and deal 2 damage to it. Okay, not too bad. If you're at those 7 play points, you can spend 2 of it to deal 2 damage to a follower, and then hopefully follow up with this evolve. And looking at the Dragoneer evolve, so you turn it to a 3/3, but on evolve you choose a Dragon Father with an original cost of 3 or less from your graveyard and you put it onto the field. So it does put a huge smile on my face when they make cards like this. You can spend a total of 4 to play another follower from your graveyard, and that can make for interesting combinations, but the one problem I will be having when they make cards like this as well is where we're going to have that in the Evo space if we want to have some good removal and stuff like that. What deck is really going to support this? Alright, and we have Boomfish, so it's a 2-cost 3/2. You can activate by using 2 play points and putting this card into the graveyard. You deal 3 damage to all followers on the field and your leader. I absolutely love the art for this, but I do not know when this card will actually be used. Alright, and lastly we have Feral Aether, so it's a 1-cost spell. You put an Tyrian Great Tree onto the field, and if Overflow is active for you, you put 3 instead. Alright, so other than the Lightning Velociraptor, this is also going to be the card that you're going to be using with the dinos to get those effects by having those Tyrian Great Trees on field. Alrighty, and then we have our Valdane Evolve, which actually looks pretty cool with all those Natura followers in the background, so it looks like he's kind of like the king of the jungle. So if you're looking forward to this coming on Friday, then I hope you pull your cards and everything else. But alright soldiers, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. It means a lot that you're watching these reveals when the set really is coming out this week. We were a little bit behind, but we will be on top of it for this Inverse Academy this next upcoming week. But alright soldiers, be safe in whatever you do tonight, and be safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah, TRINN, just to get you